They'll report that every single one of them will tell you a story or stories about those sorts of situations that have happened to them. The old Gold Coast Hospital was a cracker for it, where they demolished that site. There was an area down in the basement that they moved administration down to that used to be the morgue, and admin went in there. One of the admin departments went in there, and no one would go into that admin department after about 11:30 at night. There was an old lady with a cat absolutely walking around in that area. Files would be taken out and put onto people's desks, and things would move in front of people on a common basis. So, regular basis, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives you tingles down the back of your neck, doesn't it? That stuff.
Freaks me out.
I'm more practical. Like, I like the practical side of dealing with someone, but when it comes to spiritual, it's a bit,
Well, same.
Yeah, bit spooky.
Huh. You know what's weird is that and I heard this from another show the other day, is that it's very strange that I love to eat steak.
It's a Gold Coast first.
In the worlds before Monkey, primal chaos reigned.
G'day viewers, this podcast is brought to you by Koala Karma, the chill out drink. Sit back, relax, and check this out. One of my favourite podcasts of all time. I sit down with Scott Whimpey. He's won Kokoda. I just listen to this, I swear. I'm not going to ruin it with a long drawn out interview. Listen to me. Long drawn out intro. We talk a lot about accidents and emergencies and first aid. It's just the most interesting thing I've ever been a part of. So, are you there, Scotty? Yow!
And what do you want me to call you, mate? Just Drew? Or?
Just Drew.
Yeah,
it's Scott Whimpey put it there, champ. We're on.
Yeah, how are you, mate?
Excellent, man.
Great to be here.
Do you have a big day?
I have had quite a big day, actually, mate. I've been in Brisbane first thing this morning.
That sucks already.
Yeah, it's that road's getting busy up there.
Yeah.
What
time did you leave then?
I was up there at 7 a.m, so I left about 5:15, just
with all the other tradies.
Yeah, full of tradies up there.
It's full on.
Yeah.
If anyone hasn't done that, so it's like 3 lanes of flat out tradies. I feel so sorry for them. Imagine that life. Like, I used to go to Brizzy every day for about almost 3 years.
Yep.
It twisted me up. It really did. Like, my back and everything. Like, to drive in that traffic and you get, you're all about the radio. You're all about a bit of road rage too, and you can't believe he's bloody doing it again. That kind of stuff.
You get caught up in it. And every now and then you just have to relax and just remember that, let people go off and have their accidents somewhere else, I think.
Yeah.
Don't let them bother you.
Right, so it's good. Isn't it good to come home? Like the Gold Coast, mate. I feel my mate on Facebook was talking about how he what do you do? What's the word when you I'm thinking stealth. It's the wrong word. I can't think of the word.
Code black.
Yeah, when he looked up his old girlfriend. So we've been out of school for a million years. So he looked up his old girlfriend from primary school.
Yeah,
and the poor girl, she'd never left Brisbane.
Oh, really?
And I don't know. It's good. Where were you born?
Oh, well, I was originally born in Victoria and grew up in the Dandenong Ranges, but then I moved here at a pretty young age, as I think a lot of Victorians do, or they so-called Mexicans. Yeah. And I was up here in about 86, and then, Expo 88, went to Miami High on the Gold Coast.
Oh, yeah?
That was great.
When it used to be High Miami High.
Yeah, I reckon I run into people from years before that as well that were there 20 years before me, and that's when the reputation apparently became quite bad. So it was good when we were there, and I think all high schools have that element of, the dodgy or under sort of underworld element. Everyone does in those schools, but I think it was quite good when we were there. I got into sport, and from a young age got into surf club. There's a couple of teachers that were sort of, I suppose, inspired me to get into sport. One of them was the great Laurie Adams from Miami High. He was a PE teacher, but he also was a several time winner of the Gold Coast Marathon and ran a 2-hour 16 marathon, represented Australia. He was my PE teacher.
That's cool.
Yeah, so he was pretty awesome.
I talk about that a fair bit, like in being around inspirational people. So if I went to Rochdale High School, I was talking about this on the last 2 podcasts, actually, like how my little boy was in a little swimming thing at PBC. So if I grew up in Logan, I didn't see a world champion for anywhere, but Joel Parkinson was in our little swimming group,
No
6
way.
dads, and there was Joel Parkinson when he was a
Really?
world champ.
Yeah.
And just imagine that.
Yeah.
And all those dads talking to their little 6-year-old kids like, dude, you're winning a world champion, oh my God. And so, same for you. Like, Gold Coast is,
Oh, I think I think it's interesting because as a parent myself now, and trying to look after your kids, sometimes you need some outside influences because kids obviously don't always listen to parents. But when you're at school and you have a couple of teachers that sort of take you under their wing and help you out a bit, I think it does make a bit of a difference. You sort of listen, or it might not even be teachers. It could be someone from a sporting organisation or a hobby that you're into that you sort of look up to, and you get that different bit of advice, and it steadies the ship, I think, a little bit for developing young minds. It's important. I think it's important, and we've lost that. I think as a society, I think we've lost going out as men and getting around the boys, and we're all so caught up in our internet worlds and everything now that sometimes you just got to get with a group of the boys and get together, and obviously nothing against with the girls, and you get that couple of X chromosomes in there, and it puts the girly side onto it, but you really have to have that stability, I think, from peer groups. Well,
we were talking about that on Sunday, watching the awesome fight, Jeff Horn and Manny Pacquiao. You saw that? Did you see?
Aussie.
Yeah, but because he was a high school teacher, the whole time I'm watching it down at the Tugun Surf Club, thinking, what teenage boy? Because I remember hassling. I'll put it this way before I get into that. My little bloke goes to a school, and it's only recently I looked around and I go, hang on a minute, pretty much every primary school teacher here is a lady.
Yeah.
And I think it's absolutely all of them. And they've got, the only reason I noticed that is because all the mums are going all giddy over the 2 student teachers that came in. They were both, big young blokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Handsome, fit, young 22-year-olds, and all the mums are going, woo, and then I realised, hang on a minute, every single teacher in this place is a lady. And I went, it wasn't like that for me. No way.
Yeah.
There was hardcore Mr. Proberts. There was Mr. I always think Johnson, but he was an actual Brisbane cricket coach.
Okay.
I know, like the umpire stood there with the umpire on TV.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but you wouldn't mess with those blokes. They were just
They'd throw a duster at you.
one step away from being your dad. And you wouldn't mess with it. I remember.
They can't do it now though. I
know. Well,
I know some good male teachers now that are young guys that are sort of coming up. Local guys on the coast. You got your Ty Dowkers, and there are ex sort of Miami guys now at varsity. But there's teachers like that run. I've got good mates that run different programs in schools that are just they're industry leaders in that area. They've got the motivation, they've got the mojo, they're respected. They're go-getters, and sometimes I think with the teaching profession, you pretty much have to die to get out of it. So there's a lot of people that sit around in there that probably shouldn't be in there as well,
Yeah, I could imagine it being, it has got the best money.
Government work.
It's kind of the job you take on if you, in between jobs, I'm sure. Look, listen to me. But I know my cousin is a lawyer. Yeah. And he was a teacher only because it was the thing he could do until he became the lawyer. And
and I think there's teachers and there's teachers. Like probably is the point. I think there's some amazingly good teachers out there that are probably quite underrated for what they do. Yeah. And I look at that. You look at that. When you grow up and I had a guy in surf club, Ian Murphy, and he got me into Nobby Surf Club from a young age, and that's I suppose where my passion for looking after people and helping them out, if they get sick or injured, sort of evolved from that area. And also running, obviously, with a running, PE teacher got me into things like, down the track, Kokoda Challenge and on the Gold Coast here. And
which you won.
Yeah, mate, yeah. We've had a couple of good races there. I teamed up.
That's a team event, right?
Yeah, well, the Kokoda Challenge, for those of you who don't know about the Kokoda Challenge on the Gold Coast, it was pretty much just formulated as one of the toughest events in Australia to either walk, or hike or run. and it was put together by a guy by the name of Doug Henderson. That he originally was in Vietnam and was in a few of the conflicts, and he just thought that we'd lost touch with the Kokoda spirit. With kids, it wasn't being taught as well in school. So he put a program together called the Kokoda Youth Foundation, the Kokoda Challenge, and it was formulated over 96 kilometres, which was the distance that the Kokoda Trail in PNG that the Australians fought on and won against thousands of Japanese. And it was the only conflict that we ever fought for our own shores. All other wars have been fought for every other country, but this actually defended our Brisbane line.
Okay,
they put a lot
in another country, Papua New Guinea, but that was the Japanese just kept coming, which is my wife, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I hope you listen to this.
Oh, beautiful people, but fighters.
It's just the running joke at my house.
Yeah, but they actually divided a line across from Brisbane, just above Brisbane. I think it was sort of around Rocky or somewhere, that said, right, if the Japanese come in, they can have this area. It was called the Brisbane line,
wow.
And that's what they were prepared to sort of give up if they actually made it across from PNG to here. So Doug Henderson put together this fantastic event, 96 kilometres, 5,000 metres of elevation, which is like climbing to base camp of Everest and back. Team of 4, one person pulls out, the whole team's disqualified, and you've got 39 hours to finish.
Hang on, say that again. Team of 4, if one person pulls out,
so your GPS track the whole way, you've got to get through checkpoints together, and if one member of the team pulls out, then the whole team is basically... doesn't get to the finish line, so to speak. So it's tough, because of the sheer sleep deprivation. There are teams that take 38, 39 hours, but we managed.
And what sort of pace are you doing? Are you jogging at all, or is it a real shuffle like a?
Yeah, well, the average team, and when I talk about the average team that sort of will do a walk/jog, will sort of make it in around about 23, 24 hours. That's probably an average team. Yeah,
actually, I've done a podcast with Jody Brown and Phil about this subject, but I'm glad you're telling me the second time.
Yeah.
24 hours.
So we normally run it. I got together with a couple of guys from Nike at Robina, Peter Hall, another running legend, Don Wallace, also Guru, Nicky Carroll and myself. And we thought, well, they'd done it a couple of times, and they'd gone around 12 and a half hours for the 100 kilometres. And they wanted to go under 11 and a half hours. So the first time I ever did it, we had a crack at running up over mountains in the hinterland of the Gold Coast and trying to do the 100 kilometres in under 11 and a half hours. And we got pretty close the first year. The second year, we smashed it. So, and broke the course record.
Really?
Yeah.
Does it still stand?
No, it doesn't stand because we were beaten by another team. This was in 2011.
Okay.
And since then, no teams sort of come close to going under 12 hours. They're also 12 and a half, 13 to 14 hours. So I'm still heavily involved in that. It's a good organisation and a tough event,
Obviously.
And I've done Ironmans and things like that, but this is right up there with just it monsters your body. Yeah.
Can you tell me what happens? Because I remember Jody and Phil telling me things about their feet, And I said, "What training did you do?" And they went, "Oh, I don't know. We ran for 11 k's before." By the way, those guys, since we did the podcast, they just finished the GC marathon, which you just did, right?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't do the marathon this year, but last year I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they were newbies when they were telling me this story. I mean, they didn't do a lot of training, and I've had ultramarathon guys on here before, but I can't stop thinking about their feet, because you can't actually plan. You can't really train for doing 12 hours straight, where little things in your sock might make the greatest problems, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me about that stuff, though.
Well, I think the big issue with the feet is, as you say, it's you can train for 4 or 5 hours. If you do too much more than that, you're crazy. But on the actual day or days of the event, you cross through dozens of creek crossings, your feet get wet, and commonly you're out there for 15 or 20 hours. So at the end of the day, your feet just get so soft in your shoes that they just start coming apart. So the actual outside layer of your feet start to come off. They blister quite heavily.
And you feel it? Or are they just
a third of all people in the event pull out because of blisters on their feet. Their feet just basically peel up. And
can you take your shoes off and wrap them? And
you can do everything you need to do, but when we have lots of education on it, because I'm out there pulling people out when I'm not doing the event, and people just don't seem to listen to advice. It's just we'll go and have a go, and the good Aussie spirit gets out there, but the body just just falls apart. You know, if you haven't put itself through its paces, or
it's hard to imagine that kind of pain and suffering when you haven't had it.